to the High Queen podcast.
Prepare to embark on a journey through books you'll fall in love with, as well as the leading ladies who inspire our own stories.
Our friendship blossomed from pageantry to page turners, sparking a desire to show other women that they too can be their own main character.
I'm Miranda,
And I'm Autumn.
and together we'll lead you through books of all genres, from epic fantasy series, romance, all levels of spice, even to autobiographies of real life heroines.
We are some passionate bitches, so remember this podcast is rated R and prepare your ears. It's time to celebrate the heroines who redefine what it means to be brave and bold.
So grab your books, beverage, and bestie, and crack open your book to page 483. And let's do a quick check-in with each other before we dive in.
Okay. So to start my check-in off, I'm still sick.
Girl,
Update.
same. If we sound nice and sultry, that's why. Deep voices.
If you hear a cough drop rolling around my mouth as I try to speak to you. So yeah, I apologize for that in advance, listeners. We probably sound a little raspy today, or at least I do. But outside of that, I did get to go see Lady Gaga last week with my
Still
husband.
so jealous. So fun.
It was amazing. She's such a theatrical performer. I was telling my husband, I'm like, I've seen 3 of my bucket list performers now. I've seen Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, and Beyonce. And
what a lineup.
I know. And I always get this question of like, what's the best show you've seen? And I think there is always just going to be a little bit of biases in there because I'm such a big Taylor Swift fan. But I analyzed it and I'm like, okay, 3 queens of the industry. I feel like Lady Gaga is the best theatrical performer.
Yeah.
I felt like Beyonce was the best vocalist. And I felt like Taylor Swift had the best environment and
that makes sense.
Like crowd engagement.
Yeah.
So, because they're all entertaining in their own right. You know what I mean?
But for sure.
What was it about the Taylor Swift concert that felt so different from the other ones? And authentically, it was the entirety of this stadium feeling like we are all in one. Like the artist never had to tell us to get excited or like put your hands up or dance around.
Mm-hmm.
There was no telling the audience what to do. It was already being done.
Whereas you guys are one collective unit as a Swiftie. It's like you yes. breathe at the same time.
But then when we were watching Lady Gaga, I mean, my husband looked at me. He's like, do you think she wants us to put our motherfucking hands up? Because the amount of times she said, put your motherfucking hands up. I was like,
really?
I don't think I put them down yet.
You're like, my arms are sore. I'll listen, mother of monsters. Tell me what to do.
But it would, all the shows were very good, but very, very excited to have checked that off my bucket list and hopefully another someday.
Yes, I'm so jealous. I mean, of all of them, but Lady Gaga, especially because, you guys heard in episodes past that my dad randomly went to a Gaga concert and like I could have gone, although it was in Chicago. Someday. I also have this cold that's been like kicking everybody's butts or whatever the heck it is, so that's unfortunate. I have been just sleeping like crap. I've got midterms are this week, so
Yes.
got a lot of anxiety about having to take a test for the first time in like years. years and years, but that's okay. These chapters were a wonderful distraction.
Yes, absolutely. Man, so initial impressions over these chapters. Battle time, right? You get so many different battle scenes within this chunk. And when we left Valaris, and I know I've read this several times, but when we left, I was like, man, we really not come back for a while? I don't remember that. And I was like, oh yeah, battle 1, battle 2, all that, like back to back.
All the things.
Yes, but I love reading about the intricacies and strategy behind these battles. We've grown
Mm,
so emotionally attached to so many of these characters that now when you're in these scenes, they just carry a little bit more weight for you as readers. Like you could be reading about any old battle, but when you're like, and Cassian was in the thick of it and he was surrounded on all sides and Azriel couldn't get to him, and you're like, it's fantastic. I love these chapters so much.
gut wrenching. It's good. It's so good. I'm not usually like a huge war battle. Like, I mean, that's typical in a lot of fantasy, right? And those aren't usually my favorite chapters, but I agree that the connection we have to the characters that we've built up over book after book now, that helps. Like, that makes me far more intrigued by what's going on as opposed to just
Yeah.
kind of being like, okay, let's get through this and kind of move on with the story. So, yeah, every bump, bruise, literal guts falling out of characters, it just like makes your stomach drop because you're like, oh my god, are they gonna be okay? um
Yeah.
but then on the other end of things, talking about like stomach dropping connection to characters, the hugs at the end, oh my god, those hugs were so needed for all three of our sisters. But of course, before we get into analyzing and breaking all that down, we actually need to start back at the beginning of this summary. So,
Yes.
your door just, did your husband close it? Hi, Ethan.
He
Please
can't
tell
hear
me that
you.
was him. I know,
Yeah.
but
I know. I
I
was
didn't
like,
see his arm,
meow.
but I saw the door move and I was like, oh,
Not
okay,
sure how he
maybe.
did that. That was a cool trick.
Yeah,
But yes,
I saw
yes,
no
he
arm.
is. He closed the door, I think, and very soon I shall get up to open it because once he leaves, my dogs will want back in here.
Yep, yep.
Oh,
When we record in the evenings, my husband is always like, so I can't talk. Like, what am I supposed to do when you're doing it? Because my office is kind of in the open. I don't have a way to like close it off, unfortunately.
oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's just a side note. Anyway, okay, into the summary of this. So we open with part 3 of this book, and it's just titled High Lady, which makes sense so far because I feel like at the beginning of ACOWAR, we were getting a lot of other character development, right? We were getting a lot of Nesta, a lot of Elain and
Yeah.
Cassian and Lucian and all of these other characters. We are now, I feel like, very back into the thick of Feyre. Everybody else is
Yeah.
still there. They're still growing and changing, but this is very much High Lady territory. So we winnow into the Illyrian war camp and we're met by Lord Devlin, who, while scanning the group of individuals who arrives, lays his eyes upon Nesta and asks, "What is that? Is she a witch?" Which Nesta then responds with, "Yes?" Question mark, question mark, question mark. Like,
She's like, I don't fucking know.
well, but also, like, why are you saying yes? But that's fine. And as these brutes for warriors like flinch away from Nesta for being a witch, Devlin adds, quote, "She is no more high fae than we are." And again, I said, I'm sorry. Oh, what? That feels like something to remember. So, anyway, we leave the men to chat without fear of Nesta, and the ladies head to their tent. And Nesta asks, I think, a really great question. What is the difference between a fairy and a witch? And Moore pops right in, and she answers, witches amass power beyond their natural reserve. They use spells and archaic tools to harness more power to them than the cauldron allotted and use it for whatever they desire, good or ill. We don't even have time to like break that down or talk anymore about it, even though it feels, again, kind of important. And we got to shift gears because we now need to glamour Elain, and we're going to attempt to meet with her human fiance, Grayson. This is quite the scene. So we head to their fortress. We get inside and we're greeted by Fey smelling hounds, yay, ash arrows, 2 dozen guards at least, and of course Grayson and his lord father Nolan, who we know don't like fairies. And I went, gulp. Ooh. So our group, our inner circle, I like don't even know what to refer to all of them right now because like Ness is kind of in the inner circle, but like Elaine's, I don't know. Our inner
Yeah.
circle, they're truthful about why they're there and who they are, aside from Elaine, who has been glamored. She wore her hair half up to hide her ears just in case. And unfortunately, they know it. Grayson says, I would be inclined to believe you if you are not lying to me with your every breath.
Oh.
Oh, shit. And then the oh shits just keep coming because who is here with them and prepared to help them catch these lies? Jurian. We have discovered Jurian. And then we get some like major Jurian lore here. He didn't truly side with Hybern, but rather used his resurrection to play his own game in an attempt to help humans. He pretended to be mad to learn Hybern's weaknesses to help those against him. He also says that that quote unquote obsession with finding Miriam and Dracon was a show, one to make them and the Seraphims prepared for war again, which I was like, golly, I need a chessboard that breaks it all down. And Reese is like, you played the villain convincingly enough, Jurian. And we all went, mm-hmm. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess this is why he was so snarly with Moore back at what, the end of Akamath, because he assumed that she knew or would see through the mask that he was portraying. He also assumed that Reese would look into his head and see that past too. And we'll get into more why later, but Reese didn't for fear of seeing Amarantha within Jurian's head.
Yeah.
So we all just kind of like missed that. And in these moments, I feel a little differently later. But right now, I was like, I don't even know what to believe right now. We're getting so like Eris is back and forth, and then Jurian's back and forth, and then there's another character later who's not redeeming, and that may give you a hint, but a little back and forth. And I'm like, it's too much happening. But
Absolutely.
also not like knowing who to believe. We get this little nugget from Jurian, which is both stomach churning and not shocking, sadly, in this moment. Quote, Tamlin ran right back to Hybern after your meeting ended this morning, right to their camp in the Spring Court, where Hybern now plans to launch a land assault on Summer tomorrow.
Mm.
And it's like, who are we supposed to believe? But apparently, Jurian, we have no reason not to. We've been in his head. Still seems a little sus, but we kind of got to take what we can take at this moment. Lord Nolan actually ends up agreeing because remember, he's here. It's not just the Jurian show. Lord Nolan agrees to take in whoever can make it to their fortress. And then we get this heart shattering scene for Elain as Grayson rejects her and screams at her to take off her engagement ring. Like, this was so visceral. I could see this in a way I didn't want to, but I could really envision this for some reason. And as he's screaming at her and saying all of these terrible things, Nesta, within a beat, walks up and just slaps the shit out of him, which
Slap.
is,
I thought he punched him. It doesn't say. I just preferred it in my imagination.
either way, I saw it as like a backhanded bitch slap, like neck
Ooh,
turn.
ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
sometimes even better than a punch. Either
Yeah.
way, she
Ah.
just his neck snaps to the side, I think is the description we get. And he's like, babying his poor little face. You know what, Grayson, you're kind of a dick. Ugh. Anyway, that is done. Lord Nolan has agreed. We got to go to war. It's time to go back to the battlefield. And we get there just in time for a battle against Hybern in the morning. And before the slaughter begins, we, of course, get some sweet moments between Feyre and Rhysand. And every time we do, I'm just terrified it's going to be the last one we get because we just
Oh,
keep getting these like heartfelt. And yes, we get some sexy scenes too, but they're just so heartfelt that I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, please don't be the last one we get. We move on to the battlefield. The insight given to us by Jurian is correct. It aids in our fight. Okay, Jurian. Cassian, Azriel, and Rhys are all on the front lines with the other Illyrians and the Darkbringers. No other court is here yet, though. As Cassian takes out one of the commanders. Hello? Back up, sir. For those of you not watching, my cat is attempting to sit on my lap, which will jack up my microphone. Stay there. Cassian, Azriel, and Rhys are all on the front lines. And as Cassian takes out one of the commanders, the rest of Hybern turn to flee, only to be met by who? Tarquin's army, which felt like such a good moment. Loved that he was the first one to arrive.
Yes.
So those that are left, they begin to surrender, and Tarquin is actually given the opportunity to decide what to do. So he takes a few of them for questioning and torture and all of those brutalities, and drowns the rest of them on land with his magic, which is like, we've seen Feyre do that. That's a little intense, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And while waiting to find out where Hybern would strike next, they somehow skirted around us and are headed for the Winter Court. Uh-oh. Varian comes up with a plan to make it seem like they have stayed where they are. They're unaware of Hybern, but they're actually going to go and fight with Callias and Vivian. Despite this attempt to be ahead of the game, Hybern was ready for this fight. With Rhys and Tarquin drained from winnowing literal armies and Kyr's Darkbringers beginning to fall, Hybern begins to close in on what I'm calling our army, our forces. As Feyre, Mor, and Nesta watch as their army struggles, Feyre decides if she isn't comfortable enough to be out on the battlefield within these units, that she will do something, and she will do what she's always done: figure out the truth, find out where the rest of Hybern's army was with the help of her trusty sidekick, the Suriel.
Ooh.
To not waste time, Feyre runs. She tells Mor, get on the battlefield. Mor's like antsy. She goes to the battlefield. Feyre runs to Elain. And she says, Elain, can you see this creature? I'm going to put an image of him in your mind. Where is he? Make it easy for me to track him. And Elain points to a map. She points to the middle. And we note not terribly far from the Weaver, maybe just a few miles away from the Weaver. Seems a little, too close for comfort. But got to do what you got to do. We don't have time to, look hard or set a trap, but we're lucky because it actually finds us first. Have you come to kill me or beg for my help once again, Feyre Archeron? It tells us that it cannot see the army because the magic from, quote, and this made me laugh, the bowl of life and death, or the Cauldron, is hiding it. The bowl of life or death. And he reminds us that we have more tools in our arsenal than just our seer. We also have a literal tether to the Cauldron, Nesta. He tells Feyre to have her scry for it with bones and stones. He also tells us information for Amryn, that what she's looking for is on the second and penultimate pages of the book. Together, they hold the key. And just as the Suriel is about to tell us more, he's given us a lot of tea. Our gossip king, the master of piping hot tea, is shot with an ash arrow through its throat. And by none other than 2 Hybern soldiers and fuckface Ianthe. Who else? Why am I shocked? But I was like, didn't expect you to show up here, but okay. But Feyre, God, this girl is smart and she has a plan. And instead of winnowing away and going away as the Suriel with its like dying breath is telling her to do, she begins to run. And they chase her and she runs to where? Just a few miles away, right into the Weaver's cottage.
That's
Smart,
right.
smart girl. Where an unsuspecting Ianthe also enters and is greeted by the hunger of this death god. And
Mm.
Feyre slips out the door just as the priestess and those two soldiers begin to scream. And I said, hell yeah, ding dong, the bitch is dead.
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
Finally.
whoop.
I mean, God, unless
Heyo.
she comes back, but
I
holy
don't think
hell.
you come back from that.
I don't think you do either. I think this was a rightfully deserved end to that character. Glad to be done with her.
Yep.
However, we don't really have time to celebrate this moment because caring and compassionate Feyre goes back to help the Suriel. It's helped her. She's going to help it. She plans to heal it with her blood like she did for Rhys, but it tells her no, not to waste her magic, and then hits us with the most beautiful understanding of why it was so willing to be caught by Feyre and give her information. It says a request. Leave this world a better place than you found it. And I was crying as Feyre has the realization that all of the information was not just a kindness, but it was because the Suriel was also a dreamer.
Uh,
Cue more tears and so much clarification for us too as to why it's been easy, quote unquote, for Feyre to capture him, or why it has given so much information to Feyre. I'm like, of course the Suriel was also a dreamer. So
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Damn it.
There's this like head canon that the Suriel is actually a girl because she loves
Okay.
gossip and tea. It's
I
not like a
mean,
confirmed thing. Again, it's head canon. It's not for sure. Like we've got that's what Alex Cooper should have asked on Call Her Daddy. Okay, she asked about Bryaxis. She
right.
should
Why
have
didn't we
been
ask
like,
about the
"Hey,
Suriel?
is the Suriel also girl then?" Because seem like share tea.
SJM,
Not
drop
that
in the
not that
chat.
boys don't like to share tea. Okay, it's just giving. It's just giving
It's
a little
giving
hot
girls.
goss. Okay,
Exactly. It's giving
girls
girl
like
time,
to
girl
yap.
chat. I
She
agree.
loves a good cloak. Okay.
Right? Oh, and then I mean, we're gonna get there in just a second with like Helion, but Feyre takes Helion's beautiful High Lord cloak to wrap the Suriel in for one last like beautiful item. And I was like, oh my God. I was literally crying at work. I'm tearing up now. It's ridiculous.
No,
I
no, no, no.
just
It
we
was
love
so
the
worth.
Suriel.
It was so beautiful and sad and made me think of Dobby.
Yeah. Oh, what a connection. Oh, and
Yeah,
like
made me
the
think of
wind,
Dobby.
like the Suriel moved along the wind, and then when Helion like burns its body and then the wind carries it away, I was like, oh my God, what a beautiful like scene. Like I just felt
Mm.
like I could see so much of these chapters more than I usually feel like I can in my head. I'm going to miss the Suriel. I'm not
I
gonna lie.
know. Which
Uh,
we'll get into this in a little bit, but maybe there's more than one, but this one was
right?
special.
I have questions about that. But
This one was special.
so in all of our dying talk from the Surreal, it reminds us what it said all the way back in ACOWAR, the first
Mm.
book, when it said to stay with the High Lord, which, like, duh, we realize now wasn't Tamlin, it was Rhysand. But the Surreal saying, no, 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 that still rings true. Continue to stay with the High Lord. Okay.
Hmm.
What's that mean? You can't leave us without little nuggets of where to go next. Thank you to our wonderful Surreal. SJM, when you come on our podcast someday, that's our first question for you. So we all are collectively mourning the loss of our little gossip pal, and Helion, of all people, arrives. He places his hand on Feyre's shoulder, says it's not safe here, we need to go. And as he takes her back, as we said, he burns the Suriel's body, which is just like the perfect, beautiful ending. No creatures will come and like eat it. That was the right thing to do. We winnow back to camp, and as soon as Rhys envelops her in a hug, Feyre just breaks down, crying again. And after her tears subside, Rhys fills us in on the battle because remember, that's what was going on. We won. Tarquin decided the course of action for the survivors once again, and Cassian is hurt, sliced from belly button to his glorious pecs with his insides on the outside. And I said, gosh darn it, SJM, do you want me to ever stop crying? No, and that's fine.
Not today.
But thankfully, God, so much going on. Thankfully, the healer says that he is going to be okay. And we do a collective sigh of relief. For now, at least, right? Oh my God. Leaving Rhys and Cassian to talk because they have, a little bit of a moment. We focus in now on Mor, who is furious with Feyre. Furious because she said that Feyre lied to her and is hurt that Feyre didn't trust her enough to tell her her plan. And in this very heated argument, Feyre hits below the belt a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Quote, you want to talk about lying? And this isn't the whole because I would have had to have quoted like a whole page, but here's some of the highlights or lowlights, not good things. Yeah. You want to talk about lying? Why haven't you ever made a move for Azriel more? Why did you invite Helion to your bed? Don't like someone pushing you about it? About your choices? Well, neither do I. Mor tells Feyre to leave, and she does. And I said, that's like not a good place to leave things. Like we're in battle. And we like never get like any sort of reconciliation in these chapters, which feels not good. Hopefully that's coming. In her storming out of Mor's tent, Feyre finds Amren and the book. Amren is back. We haven't seen this Chica. She's finally here on the battlefield with us. And she reminds us, quote, be careful of how you push her. There are some truths that even Morrigan has not herself faced. Interesting. We gather then with Nesta as Amren tosses down a bag of bones and stones, and Nesta attempts to scry for or locate the cauldron. Which scrying is a very like witchy thing also. So I'm like, we're like tossing on witchy tasks to our now self-proclaimed witch, apparently. But we learn Hybern and the extent of their massive army are along the western edge of the human lands, about 100 miles from the Archeron estate. And I don't know where else to like drop this information. But in the midst of war talk and life or death decisions, Varian just strides on into the tent, gets on his knees, kisses Amren, and she wraps herself around him and he carries her off to do Cauldron only knows what in a tent. And I was like, woohoo! Hell yeah. Yeah, you get it, girl.
Wait, did you ever play The Sims?
Love Sims.
Woohoo! It's like anytime you wanted them to have sex, you just said they did that. Woo!
Woohoo! Yeah. I only play Sims at my parents' house. I don't download it at my own house because I would spend too much time playing it.
Yeah,
so it's like a Miranda goes on vacation kind of thing, and she plays Sims at her parents' house. But yes, woohoo! Oh my gosh. Well, everyone heads off to sleep because, big decisions need to be made. Let's do it after we've had a little bit of rest. A lot has been going on. And Feyre's in a fitful sleep. She's got a terrible dream about, Grayson being at the edge of the camp and beckoning Elain out. And just, it's this terrible, terrible nightmare. And it jolts her awake. And she wakes up Rhys and she says, something is wrong. Something is at the camp. And it's the cauldron, or at least its power, tendrils of it, kind of like Rhysand has. And it's looking around. We now know where it is, and it knows where we are. fuck.
Hmm.
We realized too that all of our maid fae, Nesta, Feyre, Amryn, can hear and feel its presence and this sort of siren song that it is singing. And smart Azriel, he goes, did Elain hear it? Because we're all together now. But where's Elain, who's been crying in her tent, unconsolable, broken again?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we run to her tent and she's not there. Her bed is still warm, but she is gone. She was lured by it. Ah! Azriel says, I will get her back. I will get her back. And Feyre says, as will I. And they've decided that they're going to Hybern, to the army. And in order to do so, they can't really be themselves because how else are they going to get in and get out? They can't win a win. There's wards and spells and a whole army. So Feyre shifts herself into Ianthe. And I was like, oh my God, how smart. What a move. We get a very popular quote from Rhys as Feyre and Azriel prepare to leave. Quote, you do not fear. You do not falter. You do not yield. Remember that you are a wolf and cannot be caged.
That's
you do
right.
not fear. You do not falter. You do not yield. And I have been waiting. I didn't know if that quote was in this book. I didn't know if it was in Throne of Glass. I didn't know if it was in Crescent City. I didn't know where I was going to get it, but I knew it was coming. And it was
Let's
a great
just
little
say
payoff.
it's popular in many books.
Interesting. Okay.
Which makes it feel even better.
Yeah. But I didn't know we were going to get it from Rhys. So, yeah. We enter the Hybern camp, and it's Jurian who speaks to Ianthe Feyre first before anybody else really does. And he realizes what's going on. He can see through the little cracks in this facade that Feyre has put on. And he actually helps her play the part of the lusting priestess. He tells us that Elain is chained and spelled within the king's tent and has a plan on how to get her out if Feyre can free her. And Feyre says, also, though, go get me the children of the blessed who are being roasted on pyres. Get one of them out too. And he's like, okay, we got 5 minutes. 5 minutes to get Elain, get to the edge of the camp. I'll have the chick there, pick her up and go, basically. We go into the tent, and Feyre is pretending as Ianthe to pray to the Cauldron to thank it for making her beautiful and lustful and to produce heirs and la-di-da-di-da. And she goes, I have about as long as it takes me to say Ianthe's prayer as we can get Elain out of here. We got to be quick about it. There's no real luck in this moment to remove the chains. So Azriel picks Elain up, chained and all, and they run. They blast a little hole in the tent and they book it. And they're hidden briefly by his shadows, but the sun is coming up. We don't have a lot of time. Suddenly, everybody kind of understands what's going on, and they're being shot at with ash arrows, and Feyre gets one right through the shoulder by none other than the king himself. Whew. And then the shocker of the goddamn century, just before Feyre is about to be captured and eaten alive basically by these Feyhound creatures, something worse than the Naga, who appears to save her? Beast form Tamlin. And I said, I guess it's good that he still loves her. Conflicted.
Oh.
And as
my
Tamlin
heart just hurt in that moment. I'm not gonna lie. I've got a whole section for Tamlin today. I thought we wouldn't, but here we are again.
Yeah.
My heart. Also, this last scene, as you're gonna read it here, is so cinematic with the sun coming up over the cliff.
Yeah. Yes, it and this was, I was actually surprised because as I'm reading on my Kindle, it's 6 minutes per chapter, 6 minutes per chapter, 6 minutes per chapter. This one, 27. I was like, oh, this one's full. We're gonna do it all. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It was very cinematic. So as Tamlin is taken over by these hound-like creatures so that Feyre and Azriel and Elain and this child of the blessed can get away, Feyre and Azriel launch themselves, or they're about to. Azriel launches himself over the cliff that's marking almost the end of Hybern's wards. Feyre's a little bit behind because she had been tackled to the ground and hit with the arrow, and a hound breaks free from Tamlin. One launches at Azriel, who's now carrying Elain and the Child of the Blessed, and shreds his back and his wings. And Elain, at which I'm so like proud of her in this moment, she's kicking at it. And eventually she gets it, like kicks it in the face. It lets go of Azriel. Azriel's struggling, but he uses his siphons to like quickly sort of bandage his wings so that they don't go down. And he looks back at Feyre with terror in his eyes, and he yells for her to fly, and she does. And this was so gratifying. So gratifying. And a memorable story like that of Nefel and the Seraphims, and one that they will tell for generations and generations.
Yes.
And Feyre uses Helion's power to break a hole in the wards that are containing them, and looks back for just a second to see Tamlin is surrounded by these hounds, but he gets them off of him and he launches himself off the cliff and through this hole that Feyre has created and winnows away without a second thought. Azriel then winnows them with the little bits of power he has got left. They're all exhausted and drained to the outskirts of their camp. And as they come up through the first line of tents, we see Rhys, and we're expecting he's going to embrace Feyre. No. Nesta comes running, sobbing at the side of Elain, and hugs Feyre, wraps her in her arms, hugging her for saving Elain. And that is huge. And as Nesta lets go of Feyre, Elain does the same, coming up and hugging Feyre for saving her. The sister who never stops fighting for them. They finally see it. They finally are appreciating it. And then we get this like beautiful moment of them, once again sharing a bed, and, the sisters are cuddled together. And it's like this beautiful moment before we have to dive back into war. But it's such a beautiful moment between these sisters. It needed to happen, and I'm so glad that it did. And that's the summary.
These chapters were so good. Like,
so good.
So good. And it's not even
nothing
the
else
ending
to
of
say.
the book.
I know.
It was so gratifying. I felt like every single section of these chapters had some awesome new turn.
Yeah. I mean, whiplash in like the best way. I was just like, whoa, yes. New corner, new thing. Answers to questions I've had for forever.
Human lands, Suriel, battle, going into Hybern. Like, so much.
Bus, club, another club.
But I'm so thankful for it, because you're right. We do get a lot of questions answered, and we have so many wonderful moments of seeing these characters not only grow, but really own who they are. And
yes.
there's tension building too. We're left with a couple questions. And as far as world building moments, you mentioned quite a few of them, so I'm not going to completely restate them, but the witches, I agreed, that felt like a very interesting thing that we should definitely bring up. Amassing that power for spells, using archaic tools, whatever they can use it for, whatever they desire, good or ill. Tamlin, just in general, the fact that Tamlin
just
went
Tamlin,
Hybern,
period.
World building, Tamlin. Okay, I guess it's good to know his whereabouts, because we didn't, and then we do, and now we don't. Hey, okay, he's somewhere out there. And then the scrying. So that's a new world building moment, descrying 3 bones for the 3 faces of the mother and 4 stones for apparently Amryn says, who knows what? I don't know.
Yeah, I love that she was like, I couldn't be bothered to remember.
I'm just imagining
I
SJM writing that and she's like, three stones for the 3 mothers of the goddess. And she gets to the 4 bones. She's like,
eh.
I don't know. For whatever.
Now here's a theory. That's a theory of my own. Maybe other people have had it. I don't have we ever mentioned that the mother has 3 faces? Have we ever heard that? Did I just miss it?
Well, if I'm being honest, I've heard it so many times now that I
Well,
don't
you
even
have.
remember. I don't even remember the first time I've heard it. I
I
couldn't
feel
tell
like
you.
this was the first time I heard it, and for some reason my brain went 3 faces of the mother. 3 Archeron sisters?
Yeah, that is a pretty popular theory that the 3 faces of the mother are the 3 Archeron sisters that this story follows. That we have the maiden, the mother, and the crone.
Mm-hmm.
The theory being that the mother would be potentially Feyre, since we see her future child. The maiden being Elain, the fair, the young, the innocent, and the crone
Mm-hmm.
being Nesta.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no like full confirmation on that. It's just a theory.
Well, I'm glad to know that my brain is in the same theorizing state as others.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, a little bit of world building. I don't know if we'll see it again, but that fortress where Grayson's home is actually like an acreage, which I didn't understand until they described it that way. I just kind of figured it was like a estate surrounded by like a fence, not this whole acreage inside of it with ash trees and like farmland. And it's a pretty sizable space that they could fit a good
Yeah.
amount of humans. Probably couldn't stand up to a Fey army, but it would be a good area to like hold some people, maybe with some Fey protection.
Mm.
So, I feel like maybe we'll come back here eventually. I don't know if this is world building, but some of these things I just like don't know where to put. But that we find out Feyre wasn't really going to be able to nullify the cauldron. She would have needed more time and it would have killed her. The spell would have drained her life, which I thought kind of felt important as well. The cauldron is aware, it's kind of sentient a little bit. And then different from our army, Hybern's army is using or has creatures. We
Mm.
have monsters that we're trying and death gods that we're trying to get to work with us, but they have creatures, and that felt very like Lord of the Ringsy a little bit when we were in their camp. So maybe some
Yes.
things to like help you visualize some of the battles that we've seen or that are coming up.
Absolutely. Well, as we jump into our characters, we're going to start with Feyre and talk about some moments that really stuck out to us about each of them. So for me, I'm going to start back at the beginning when Feyre and Nesta are confessing about the struggles that they're having from their trauma. Feyre talks about how she doesn't feel comfortable in small spaces anymore, and she's the first one to open up in this conversation when they're at Grayson's estate. They get put in this tiny little room, and she's starting to kind of go into a little bit of a panic attack. But she's able to stop herself, and that's when Nesta says to her that she can't go into bathtubs anymore. The way that it
Mm-hmm.
reminds her of the cauldron, and she's been just essentially taking like hand wash bucket baths this whole time, and we haven't known. And you realize, wow, they are both really going through it, but they opened up to one another. And there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
comfort in knowing that you're not the only one experiencing something so difficult. I really love how Feyre's like, when we get back, I'm going to find you something else. We're going to discover the shower.
Showers. I was like, so we'll create a shower. That's you guys are gonna love that. That's gonna be the invention of the century. Yeah, Feyre, I noted here too, kind of that opening up and thinking about what can she do during this
Mm-hmm.
war. She's doing what she can. She doesn't want to or doesn't think she can fight in these battles, she tells Rhys. She's not really sure how to kind of work within that unit, and that makes her feel a bit like a coward. Um,
Mhm.
but I actually think that's a really smart thing for her to admit here, is
Yeah.
that if she were to walk down in the midst of the battle, it might distract Rhys. She might not actually be helpful. You know, how else can she be of use? And so she does that, right? She tends to those that are hurt when the battle is done. She then goes to the Suriel. She's doing the things that she can do. She's also
Mhm.
being the high lady. She's being a presence to bring up the hopes and the spirits of
Yeah.
the people that are fighting for them.
I thought about this too because there is this complaint that why, we see Feyre has all these powers. We see her fight in the Battle of Valaris and do these amazing things, and then she's just not in these battles. But I think of it less about her capacity to be powerful in these moments and to fight, and more about the difference between, as she says in the book too, organized fighting
Mm-hmm.
and reporting to someone. It's not that she doesn't have the capability to do it, but she has never been trained on how to fight in structured combat. And there
Mm-hmm.
is an organization to it and a hierarchy that you have to be able to follow and understand what it means. And these are trained soldiers who are ready for that. She is trained in combat. She is trained in how
Mm-hmm.
to defend herself. And that's why she was so successful in Valaris, because that was not organized. It was chaotic, and she could kind of like focus in on her zone and take care of her zone. So she could do whatever she wanted to do without following an order. And I think that because she has that lack of experience, whereas the other High Lords and Morrigan in this situation, Cassie and Azriel, all have experience in this. She knows that I don't have time to train. I am not best put in this situation. I am more of a
Yeah.
liability, regardless of my powers. I
And
think that
Reese is
was
smart
smart.
to like, yeah. I like that Reese recognizes that too. If we had time, we would prepare you for this, but we
Yeah.
don't. And I
Yeah.
I I agree that on both of their parts, that is a smart decision.
Yeah. There's also a complaint generally in fantasy books that we take, this typically female main character, and suddenly, out of nowhere, she has life skills that she's never had before. We're like, I am lowly human. I don't know how to defend myself. And suddenly, I am fighting in a war.
Yeah.
When the fuck did you have time to figure that
Right.
out? You know what I mean?
Where'd you
So
learn that?
I actually think this is somewhat of a realistic depiction of the fact that she doesn't have those skills yet. Let's not
Yeah.
just throw her into a scene for the purposes of making it more interesting for her character, but actually be true to where her character is at in this moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
100%.
got off on a little tangent. Okay.
No, girl, I think it's a fair one because I agree. And I think Sarah J. Maas set it up so well, right? That we do then understand the decision that's being made. We understand, yes, she can defend herself. Yes, she can walk into the Hybern camp and use her powers in that way. Again, that's chaotic. It's not organized battle that she's
Mm-hmm.
never experienced. Even Adriata, she says that we were taken off guard. We just had to come in and figure it out. This is different. This is a
Yeah.
battlefield with lines of people. It's different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, she still is clever, clever Feyre. Okay. Bringing Ianthe to the Weaver's cottage was insane in
I
the
was
most
so stressed.
amazing way. Yes. I mean, she's sitting there like prying the door to prevent it from shutting to
And
trap
it's
her
like,
in.
you've come back.
Yeah, you're here
I
for me again.
remember you.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this death god starving for life with a beautiful priestess before her. That line. I was so proud of Feyre for thinking on her feet and getting there. My
If
goodness, what an epic moment.
Right, if nothing else, Feyre can think on her feet very well. You know, shooting the wolf that started everything, Andros at the beginning of these books, of her decisions when she's in the Weaver's cottage the first time. Like, she can think on her feet rather well. I will give her that.
Absolutely. But what really sent me was her using her full shifting powers to become Ianthe. Oh,
Mm,
this was perhaps like the most interesting power to me that she has. And I mean, she's got a lot of them, but it's because its possibilities are endless for how she could utilize it. And
yeah.
this is the first time, and we don't even see Tamlin use his power to this extent that we know of. So to see her fully shift into another person, another Fae,
And like
I
hold that. Like, she became
yes.
Tarquin for a few moments last
But to
book, but
sustain it, to use it in a setting where she had to portray that person. And while she doesn't convince Jurian, she convinces everybody else around her well enough to use it. That is
yeah.
so powerful. I'm interested to see if she ever uses it again in the future.
Right. And I
I mean, it
also
like
then
it
I'm
kind of
like,
can cross a line depending on how you want to look at that, but I loved it.
maybe it's gonna give Tamlin ideas, unfortunately. Oh, I can shift into more than just animals.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Yeah.
that's a Feyre thing. I don't know. I know there's theories out there, but
So cool.
hmm.
Absolutely so cool. Okay, now Feyre. We know that she is, yes, morally gray, but at her soul, she's got like a pretty good grasp on what's right and wrong. And
Yeah.
so I understand her saving this human girl, this child of the blessed. That guilt over Claire Better is still deep in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that because Baron brought it out in the High Lord meeting plenty. But man, girl, war is hard and you can't always save everyone. And I'm glad it worked out for you this time. Barely.
Right.
But I feel like you can't keep pulling stunts like that
Right.
because,
I'm also like, what are we gonna do with this girl now?
I don't know.
What's our plan?
Briar.
Do we have a plan?
Briar can go
Uh,
live in Valaris and be her
I
happy self, but
I guess so. Hey,
I don't
I
know.
take me.
It's me.
Yeah,
What's
she
that?
continues to be, caring and compassionate to like lesser fae and creatures, her willingness to want to heal the Suriel and yes, save Briar. And yeah, it just at some point I'm like, I'm not saying we have to choose, but we might be put in a situation where we have to choose. And I'm curious what her choice will be. Who will you pick? Will you save the human? Will you say, like you said, barely worked out this time with Briar. And they know that that's a soft spot for you. Hybern
Mm,
knows that that's a soft spot for you. So,
yeah, it's really scary. She
little bit.
does have some pretty epic moments, though. I was really glad to see her back with like a bow and arrow.
Yes.
I enjoyed that. Okay. And she can fly, she can fly, she can fly.
So
Oh my
gratifying.
gosh. Yes. Like just that moment of the description of her like using her wings
And like
was
banking
so
and
good. Oh my gosh. And
uh,
knowing that she had to like work against all odds, that was so sick. I loved it so much.
it
But
was
for
so
me,
good.
the moment that sent me, and y'all know because I've said it on here, it actually takes a lot for me to cry reading a book. A lot. And
But not for this one.
I was in tears. Literally welling up, rolling down my face, tears at the very last scene. But Nesta got there first. Wrapping her arms around my neck, she embraced me so hard it snatched my breath away. Thank you, she said. Oh my gosh. And then this one. I'm just going to read it to you because I think
Yeah,
we all just
just
need
read
to
the whole
relive it.
thing. Yep.
I didn't know how long my sisters and I lay there together, just like we had when we shared that carved bed in the dilapidated cottage. Then, back then, when we had kicked in and twisted and fought for any bit of space, any breathing room. But that morning, as the sun rose over the world, we held tight and did not let go.
Mm.
Our three sisters have finally come together,
Mm-hmm.
embraced each other, and you said it so well that they see Nesta now. Or sorry, they see Nesta. Nesta and Elain see
See
Feyre.
Feyre. Mm-hmm.
I mean, but each of them have these moments of growth. Nesta says thank you. Let's just start with
Which
that.
is, I wonder if that burned to come out of her mouth a little bit.
Gives her a hug, is crying, like visually showing
So much
emotion.
emotion.
Elain kicked that beast in the face with her bare foot to fight back when she could have just been a damsel in distress. She fought back. She had that grit.
Mm-hmm.
And Feyre was who Feyre always was, right? The person that was going to do anything in the world to save her sisters who she cares about more than anything. Just a beautiful moment of family reconciliation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just so grateful, no matter what happens to each of them, that they had this moment together.
Yes. Yes.
Speaking of moments, I would, and I we could have thrown this elsewhere, so sorry to take us from the beautiful moment with the sisters to this one. But I want to come back to the Moore and Feyre fight for just a second, too, because Feyre lets us in on this little nugget in her brain. I'd never had a friend to quarrel with who cared enough. She's never really fought with anybody in this way. And even I think when we saw like the little bit of time that we saw with her sisters in the human world, like they fought, but they didn't really fight. I think, they were exhausted and Feyre would just kind of, whatever. So this is the first real fight I think she's kind of had with anyone. Especially someone that she considers a friend and potentially one of her few friends. So
yeah,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to the resolution for that. Assuming there will be, because I mean, unless they just hate each other forever, but I doubt that.
I mean, I think it'll come, but I just also think it's unfortunate that it didn't happen.
Well, remember,
yet.
Moore runs into the tent as Feyre and Azriel are winnowing away to go save Elain. She runs in looking exacerbated, like she wants to say goodbye, but doesn't get the chance.
But is it goodbye to Feyre or is it goodbye to Az? Probably to both, but
yeah, that's interesting. You're right, but I kind of took it as she's running back to Feyre.
Yeah, I assume as much, but the way that her and Az,
yeah, you're right, it could
interact
be
too. Who the heck knows with that girl? I love Moore, but she's just a conundrum.
Well, moving on to our dear Rhysand. He has this understanding of Feyre that, we talked about her needing to stay out of the front lines. But what I loved is he said that he acknowledged that it would be an honor to fight beside her. Because you know what, Feyre? I would fight beside you. And he loves her so much. And I just appreciate that. He's like, I agree with you. I do not think less of you for wanting this. But know that if you change your mind, I support that as well. We love a supportive king.
We do. We do.
Now, on the other end, watching his best friend be tortured, essentially like cut open, guts spilling out. It's one of his worst nightmares. We see that in the scene where he is reliving the past war. He's flipping over Illyrian soldiers to see their faces, to see if that's his friends dead on the ground. This is one of his worst nightmares, and it's happening in front of him in real time. His friend is splayed out, healers trying to save him, and this has happened multiple times to him now. And I can't imagine the grief that Rhys is feeling like he can't save his people that are so close to him. But he has to let them sacrifice themselves. It's gut wrench. Oh, that's a poor choice of words. Sorry. Gut wrenching.
Cassian would laugh. He would laugh.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he would. Okay. And one other note that I had is for Rhysand. I do not let you do anything. This is after she comes back from going to find the Suriel, and he's not angry, but he's like, the fuck did you tell anybody?
Did you just leave a note?
Like, what the? I do not let you do anything. You are your own person. You make your own choices. We are mates. I am yours and you are mine. We do not let each other do things as if we dictate the movements of each other. Put like ... Leave a note.
Yeah, I love that where he's like, you just leave a note or like, send a thing down the bond.
Yeah, I mean, it's healthy. It's a healthy type of relationship to be like, I don't let you do anything. I don't command you, but we are a partnership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love this like continued reminder that we get often from Rhys. Feyre is her own person. She gets to make her own choices. And all of these little nuggets, like you do not yield, him understanding her, not wanting to be on the front lines. I was like, man, it's as if this man was written by a woman. Oh, wait.
What? But no, those men do exist. They absolutely do.
They do. It was a joke, but it's his continued commitment to especially just reminding Feyre of her worth and that she is her own decision maker. It's wonderful, and we highlight it often because it's a good reminder to us too, right? Especially when you are in these partnerships. Like, yes, there are group decisions to be made and there are conversations to have with your partner in life, but at the end of the day too, you do make your own decisions and you have to kind of be the keeper of your own life as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This iconic line, you do not fear, you do not falter, you do not yield, you are a wolf and cannot be caged. I feel like I want that tattooed on my body somewhere.
Right. That'd be a great second tattoo.
So good. So good. There's so many of these types of quotes in these books, so that I fear I'd just have like a whole rib cage just full of lines.
For real.
This, my friends, is why there are stickers. Because I cannot get every single one of these things put on my body.
Unfortunately, there's only so much canvas space that is the human body. So yes, thank God for art and stickers and bookmarks and. I'm
just gonna keep filling up my water bottle. So I need that one right here.
Yes, it is so good. A few other things that I noted about Rhys, and we touched on it briefly, but that trauma for him under the mountain, that will always be there. And that he chose not to try to look into Jurian's mind because of that, I think is very telling of how deep that still cuts for him. I love that he knows when to take a step back and allow others to lead, because I see Rhys as, he's the one that brought them all together, the Prythian High Lords. He is the one that's sort of taking charge of, we need to stand up against Prythian. He's not the king, he's not the overarching leader, but he's kind of, sort of taking on like a bigger role. But he knows when to step back and let the others lead, letting Tarquin decide what to do with the Hybern survivors. They're currently in his court. He's not being like overbearing of, I'm the one who found out that Hybern was coming and la-di-da. Like, I think that's a good reminder of who he is as a leader and as a High Lord. Just the asking to leave a note was so funny to me, but also he was genuinely terrified for Feyre. And more is terrified, and absolutely, she's suddenly gone, and maybe Elain being suddenly gone is a bit of an eye-opener for Feyre of how that would feel to everybody else, what that moment was like for them. And it's interesting too, I think, to see the High Lord mask. And I say High Lord mask, not the one that we have seen from recent previous books, but the one that we get of, I'm in charge and I have to be this steadfast person. That falters a little bit more during these chapters of him being terrified for Feyre, of that kind of I'm trying to combine words, panic and fear that he feels and sees at Cassian disobeying orders and getting hurt so badly, at Azriel coming back from this mission to get Elain with shredded wings and Feyre being hurt. We see through that steadfast mask just a little bit more. He hides it from the soldiers, but with our inner circle, that emotion is coming out so much more within Rhysand, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, the next character that I felt like we got a lot of in this series and in these chapters, was Nesta. And I'm going to start with that witch line, right? What is that? Is she a witch? Lord Devlin says to her. And that difference between like high fae and Illyrians, and the difference between high fae and witches and high fae and Nesta. And we've already kind of touched on this, that Nesta is very different. We don't exactly know what that means, but Lucian acknowledges it with his eye, and there are others that feel it. In taking her to this camp and Lord Devlin feeling it too is like one more inkling that there's so much more to her story and what she took from that cauldron, and the fact that they're so tied together. And if you take something from the cauldron, do you become the cauldron in that way?
Do you become the cauldron?
Well, and we think about what Moore says about becoming a witch and like amassing power beyond your like normal amounts.
What you're given.
Isn't that kind of what she did in a way? She took more than normal amount from the cauldron, more than it was going to give her in the first place. So maybe she is, but I did think her comment back of like, yeah, I am, was more like an offhanded, like, I don't know what the fuck that means, but you don't like it, so yeah. How about
right.
it?
It's also like, I think, at least for my recollection, that this is the first mention of a witch that we are getting within this world. So I was like, oh, okay, we're just going to kind of drop that lore a little bit. That will definitely have to come back. And witch is an interesting term, I guess, because that's not what I would have initially thought of Nesta as potentially being. We've likened her to death and to maybe one of these death gods. And I guess witch was just never the term that I was expecting we were going to get in connection with her. So I'm curious to see what exactly that entails. Who are other witches in Prythian or in the land? I want to know more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to know more.
So the next one is Nesta doing that backhanded slap. Yes, absolutely love that. And Feyre says she's proud as any queen when she like is walking Elain out. That's another queen reference. I feel like we should be counting them at this rate.
Take a shot every time.
Yes. So many moments of that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to write that down because there's another one. All right. And then this note of death at Nesta's hands. Would they have to invent a new word for it, for what she had done? And this is Feyre just like fantasizing about Nesta killing Grayson.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually happen, but she's thinking in her mind like, man, whatever death that Nesta brings to somebody, you'd have to invent a new word for, because it would be that horrifying.
Brutal.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
which again, if she's a death god, death incarnate, I mean, the Weaver killing is pretty brutal. I'm sure the Bone Carver killing is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Seems right that she would also be a pretty brutal bringer of death, if you will.
Absolutely. But then on the softer side, when
Mm,
she sees Cassian's injured hand, right, in the first battle, and her immediate thought is, how do I fix it? Like
mm,
she's like, what do I do? How do I fix you? And she, she starts bandaging him up and helping to heal his hand however she can. And that's just such a sweet emotional moment for her. And it felt very instinctual. Like there wasn't a
mm-hmm,
thought behind it. It was just, I am pulled to you. I must help you. Like, how do I fix this?
mm-hmm. And she noticed it before anybody else because it's under
Mm-hmm.
his armor, and she just knew. And as she's like bandaging him up and he rubs his thumb over her
Oh,
hand, I'm like, it's like the hand holding, it's these little moments, these little, oh, nuggets. And she's about to say something. I can see this moment of she's holding his wrist, and he comes up and he just rubs the back of her hand, and she's about to say, God only knows what, but it seemed like something not nasty out of Nesta's mouth. And then bam, Mor interrupts and she walks in, and I was like, Mor,
mm-hmm.
go
Yeah.
away. And then Cassian instantly turning his attention to Mor, and that hurts Nesta.
Yeah. And see, I took it less as like he turns his attention to give it to Mor and more like he pulls his hand away from Nesta's quickly as she comes in. Like he doesn't want Mor to see the moment.
See, and that's like he pulls his hand away and he just goes to Mor and
Yeah.
ignores that moment he's having with Nesta.
Yeah. And it just felt like hiding her. And
Mm.
Nesta is clearly hurt by this. Like she's just left there staring at her hand, like at this moment that happened. And man, I get it. Like I I would be so hurt. I would be so hurt by that. And feeling
Yeah.
like you feeling like you're getting close to someone, like you're feeling vulnerable with somebody and they're like, "Oh, but I don't want other people to see this." Except he doesn't care. There were other people in the room. He just doesn't want more to see it.
Yeah, which I have more to say on that later.
Mm, mm. Um, now, Nesta, Feyre says that Nesta may be many things, but she is of all of them loyal. Thought that was a quality that we should note about her. I really did appreciate that. And for all that moment of Nesta and Cassian and more, all these things are happening. We do know that in the room where everybody is scrying, was Mor in that room? I think she was.
Say
When
that again.
when
Sorry, my
that's okay. When Nesta is scrying for the cauldron, I'm fairly certain Mor is in the room. Or was she not then?
no, she wasn't yet because they
She
had
was
just finished
not.
their fight. Mm-mm.
That's right.
I
So
don't
Mor
believe
was
Mor was.
Mor was not in the room. Nesta is scrying, and then Cassian has another intimate moment with her. Nothing can hurt you, nothing can harm you. Has a hand on her lower back. She's gazing up into his eyes, finally closes them, and then starts to shake and throw and go into like this moment because she
Mm-hmm.
feels comfortable and safe with Cassian there. And I loved that moment. That was so beautiful to me. Would he have done it if Mor was in the room? I don't know. But I did appreciate it. I thought it was sweet. A
Yeah.
little note about the cauldron too in that moment when, you know, Feyre's going into Nesta's mind. She sees her shield, by the way, her wall, her like mind mental shield is described as an ancient fortress, sharp and brutal. A darkness different from Rhys's that Feyre had never known. A very interesting seeing their shields. Kind of like when she saw Tarquin's, it was like this wall of water, and everyone's is different,
Mm.
which is super fun.
Yeah,
But
it's cool.
then when they're all in there together and they see the cauldron and like it looks at them, it reminded me of Lord of the Rings, like the Eye of Saruman
I
when it's like looking and finding Frodo. So a little eerie for sure. Um, and then, there's this guilt that Nesta seems to always possess about things. And as if she didn't have enough of it, I feel that she will take Elaine's kidnapping upon her shoulders as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Especially because it was payback from the Cauldron to Nesta.
Yeah. That's pretty much everything I have on Nesta. A lot of interesting little nuggets in these chapters. Curious to see how that continues as we
Mm-hmm.
continue through battle, especially with Cassian and Elain. And there's lots of emotions tied up in a lot of people right now for Nesta.
Yes. Well, speaking of her counterpart, which is what I'm going to
Mm.
call him now, Cassian. I like that Feyre describes watching him battle like watching a dance. Moore calls it a symphony, but
Mm-hmm.
it was beautiful in the way she described it. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, definitely this death dance. I liked these quotes. He'd been born for this, these fields, this chaos and brutality and calculation, and that he's described because of his skills on the battlefield like Enalius, I'm guessing. I have no
Mm-hmm,
idea.
mm-hmm.
The most ancient war god and the first of the Illyrians. I think that's a really
Yes.
cool description for Cassian, somebody who is seen as lowly, bastard born, to then be looked
Mm-hmm.
at like their most ancient warrior god when he steps onto the battlefield is beautiful for him, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you think that Cassian is afraid to hurt Moore's feelings? Do you think he likes Moore? What do you
Hmm.
think it is there? Like, because I think he made a mistake when he pulled his hand away from Nesta, and I'm just so confused about that in general. I
You
don't
and
feel like he
me both.
likes her like that.
I said like Azriel, Cassian also needs to decide what he wants. And
Mm,
I don't even know that decide in the same way of like, do you love her? Do you want more in that way? But he needs to decide which is more important to him, protecting Morrigan or having Nesta in his life. I think that
yeah.
he can't have both, at least right now, especially with like the prickliness between Moore and Nesta. And so
Hmm.
that's what I see it as. Like he's trying to protect Morrigan. I think for him, that's what it's always been. Is he love like a sister, which is weird because they
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah.
Not a sister, but
Yeah.
like he wants to protect her. And by doing so, I think he wants to then potentially be seen as someone she can continue to like fall back on and whatever in whatever way that is. And if he moves closer to Nesta, then Moore will push herself away from
Hmm.
Cassian. So he needs
That's
to decide in
beautiful.
my mind what
What a
exactly he
great
wants.
insight. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but that's
I don't know,
that's
but
what
that
I'm
felt
picking
right.
up from Cassian is that it's a
Yeah.
protection thing, but he has to decide like how deep does that need to go and to what extent do you protect more versus allow yourself to feel and be happy and move on and et cetera, et cetera, et
All
cetera.
those things. Yes. Now,
Yeah.
I am I'm thinking about the statement Elaine makes about Cassian, the statement, vision, I don't
Can
know,
she
but
stop? Can she stop?
remember she talked about, he's like, "Oh, it'll take more than that to break me or to kill me," and she says, "No, it will not." And now we've seen him be hurt, his hands hurt in the first battle. Second battle, he practically dies. There's clearly another battle coming, and it's making me nervous. Why are we increasing the level of hurt here each time?
Right. And I'm like, to what extent can you be hurt and healed? Like,
Because I haven't forgot about that. I didn't forget
is
about
it
what you
like,
said, Elaine.
right? The vampires, they rip off their heads and then they burn them so that they can't re-heal. Like, to what
Oh
extent
no.
can Cassian hurt himself and the healer will be able to fix him? They have rebuilt this man's wings.
You know, I want to say like it's
Uh,
impossible, and then I remember that Jurian was remade from an eyeball and a
an
finger bone.
eyeball and a
So
bone.
I don't
I
know, man.
know. Who the But that was with the cauldron, so maybe we would need the cauldron to do so. Yeah, it's
Mm,
hard to know. Hard to
yeah,
know.
yeah. And then that last moment with Reese, where he kind of calls him out, and I said fair. He says, you know, you're apparently you're allowed to be mad about our choices to protect you, but we aren't allowed to be upset with your self-sacrificing.
Mm,
Well, if that's not calling the kettle black, you know, that's
for sure.
he's right. Like Rhysand's really upset, but Cassian's like, you do this all the time,
Which
all
is
the
maybe a
time.
good eye opener for Resand.
Yeah,
Who
absolutely,
knows?
absolutely.
Who the heck
Now,
knows?
moving over to Elain, okay, she's got quite the arc in these chapters of eventfulness between Grayson and being kidnapped, having to like look for the Suriel. She's got a lot going on. She claims that she acts the same way that she did when she was human. And I'm like, do you? I don't. You were such a happy, go-getting, frolicking in the flowers kind of person, and now I feel like you're very introspective and quiet and sad.
Yeah, it's an interesting statement to say the least.
Absolutely. Um, and then she's talking about Grayson's estate. This house has needed a woman's touch for years, and it just made me think of like that is her desire then for her life. Yes, like to be someone who just cares for beauty and love, and to bring that feminine touch into a home and care for the home. And I think that's beautiful. That's what she desires. I fear that will not be what she gets there, but
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's how she's always been, right? Trying to have a garden even when they had nothing, buying Feyre paints to be able to paint their home. That is what she wants. She wants this beautiful, um, yeah, beautiful life, which, who knows what she'll get because I mean, I know Silver Flame is probably more about Nesta than it is Elaine, so I guess we'll see potentially someday if we get a little bit more about her. um when we meet Grayson truly for the first time, I do believe that he and Elaine truly loved each other.
yeah.
And that's so heartbreaking for her. But I said at least he finally rejects her so that perhaps she can move on. I think
I
that
would
this
hope
was a
so.
necessary moment, as horrible as it was, especially when Grayson is talking about Lucian because he knows about the mating bond and he snaps at Elaine and asks her if she knows what it means to be his mate. And she says, it means nothing. It means nothing. I don't care who decided it or why they did. I belong to no one, but my heart belongs to you.
Mm,
And I
I don't
just
want it.
and it means nothing. I don't care who decided it, why they decided it. I'm grateful
Yeah.
that Lucian wasn't there to hear that because that would have been a really hard. I mean, I don't think he would have gone anyway because that feels like a can of worms. Um, yeah, devastating to hear all of that kind of come out of her mouth. But I am really hopeful that with time, that this will be an opportunity then for her to be able to let go and
Yeah.
hopefully, learn to find love again. Hopefully
Yeah.
Grayson wasn't the one great big beautiful love of her life.
Hmm. I mean, I think that she maybe also got to see a side of him that's going to allow her to move on. Because when she says, you know, my heart belongs to you, he's like, I don't want it. Take that ring off. Take it off. You're not, you know, like, and he talks about how are your own women not are not fuckable enough. Like it's just the words he uses, and he's like, I'll never take you.
Mm,
She gawks at that. She's like, hearing those words come from his mouth, the crassness of it. And I think maybe that also shows her like, okay, maybe I there are some parts of you I didn't see. Then maybe that will also help her to see someone else, because Nesta said that his dad is awful, a woman beater, just horrible person, and that Grayson, may be better, but can't fall too far from the tree. And seeing him react to her like this in this moment maybe was a blessing in disguise. Then we go on to, not Elain being, she is really just pulled around here, Poor thing is in her dreams, because I assume that's what happened with Feyre. Is she's seeing what Elain saw, and Elain is thinking Grayson apparently somehow came to the camp to be back with her again, walking out to him, and then opens her eyes and she's snatched. And here's the king of Hybern. I want to shit my pants.
Right. Well, and it's like Feyre when she's in the spring court, believing her father had come across the wall to save her. You expect this person that you think loves you and cares for you, and you're hoping and wishing that they'll step up into the way that you want them to. It's heartbreaking. It's devastating to kind of have that vision of this person that you loved shattered, and even more so for Elain too.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to skip on to Azriel now, because Azriel has a lot of connecting moments to Elain, and one of them being him saying, like, I'm getting her back. No pauses. He's the first one to say it. Feyre, in this moment has seen the mightiness of Hybern and what they're walking into, and it feels like a suicide mission. But no hesitation, Azriel. I'm getting her back. Says it twice. That conviction.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was like, is that protective nature, or like
I don't know.
Feels a little bit like Cassian promising to protect Nesta.
Could be, but I mean,
vibes a little bit.
I'm not sure how to feel about the Azriel Elain connection, because we know about the Lucian connection, and I do love to see that she's got somebody in her corner who sees her and wants to be there for her.
He cares for her.
Because even if Lucian was here in this moment, he could not have been the one to go. It had to be Azriel. And as they're going into the camp, he is able to use his powers, which I think is like so cool, to make himself invisible, to make not just him invisible, but he like covers up himself and Feyre and Elain and the Briar, I think that was her name, to make them all invisible, shadow bound. That is such a cool feature of his power. I love that. Also, I think if I was Azriel, I would have been like losing my shit on Feyre a little bit. Like, Feyre, we don't have time to save all these people. Like, Feyre, focus, Feyre.
Yeah, for sure. We get a lot more emotion from Azriel in just a few chapters than I think we have anytime. He's usually kind of just seething or brooding. He laughs a little bit here and there. But to see fear in his eyes as Feyre is struggling to fly and get off the cliff, I think is just a little bit of a different emotion from him than we typically get. We get a lot more rage and, like I said, brooding, I think, than anything else usually. So it's kind of good to see him have more emotional depth.
Absolutely. Okay, now, Morrigan. She gets a little bit more time in these chapters, and one of the most beautiful lines she says is, "We're all broken in our own ways, in places people may never see." So powerful. So true. Something I think we all can kind of take to heart a little bit. It's not what I chose for my heroine's journey today, but it is quite a beautiful statement.
Definitely. We get lots of those here for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Um, I also wonder how much, is she speaking about herself that we don't know about,
Yeah, feels a
you know?
little cryptic-y. I mean, it's a beautiful line, but it's also a little cryptic potentially.
Yep, for sure.
And Feyre
And
actually begins to kind of question it in that moment. Like she's about
oh,
to push Morgan a little and ask her more, like, what are we talking about? And then, of course, we get interrupted, as we always
mhm.
do in these books. So we don't get
What
an
the
answer to
I
that,
know, always. What
unfortunately.
the heck? That sneak attack battle, the when they're sneaking up to the Winter Court and excuse me, and Morgan is looking out at it and she's Feyre notes like it's saying to some part of her. She's so pulled into this moment. And I wonder, is it just because she's fought in a battle before? Or is it because something within her, the Morrigan, calls to be in that situation?
Yeah, she's anxious for sure. She's like dancing around, hopping back and
Mm-hmm.
forth, foot to foot. And it's funny when Feyre says, go into the battle. Like the first thing she does, and of course they need a little help, but the first thing she does, she winnows directly to Azriel's side. And then the two of them together go straight to Cassian. They're always protecting each other. This little triangle of I don't know, friendship, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I feel that Moore was right in her frustrations with Feyre, being frustrated about what Feyre did and hurt by her. She tells her, she's like, "You're my high lady. Do you know what it means when you do this? Like it says you don't trust us. What does that say about how you feel about who we are?"
I think it's got to be a little bit of PTSD too
Mm,
from Reese and going under the mountain and leaving them and making decisions without, consulting them. And they're all split second decisions. But I've got to think that part of that is I agree. I mean, I think Feyre could have and should have said something. But I also
yeah,
think there's a lot of underlying trauma for all of them in different ways it stung. It stung a little bit. Clearly caused a decent fight, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so any other things about Moore that you took note of this time? Cool. Well, then we have Miss Amryn. Where Amryn not been in like our notes. If y'all didn't notice, we didn't even talk about her last time. She has just been reading this whole time. She hasn't been here.
Girl,
And
same.
finally she shows up. She's at the camp out of nowhere and she is the voice of reason for Feyre on pushing more. But my favorite moment was the Varian kiss. Oh my gosh, it was epic and just like this. It was so like, again, I'm going to use the word cinematic. The way he like drops before her. They haven't had any intimate moments. It's all been like looks, glances, her wearing a necklace, him sending her a note, him saying, "No, don't tell her. I'll tell her the next time I see her." And we
Mm,
finally get them together.
yes, it was a good moment. Lots of good payoff.
Oh, such good payoff. I love the fact that like the world disappears and it's just the two of them and she wraps her legs around him and he just carries her out. Can't see where he's going, but apparently he's got the path in his mind because they're
He
just locking
knows.
lips there.
He knows he's going somewhere. I don't know that they care where they're going. They're just going somewhere. We
Yeah.
have been missing her. I'm glad she's with us in battle now. Like I feel like maybe we need her and her power. Might be a good thing to have her around.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Speaking of having some familiar faces around that we haven't seen in a while, we found him. It's Jurian. We questioned where he was, and if he was with the humans and Hybern, I guess. Like he's the little stealthy thing, goes everywhere,
Travels fast.
unknown. Yeah, really secretive. Um, that note about like I expected you to look into my mind. Why didn't you? And he just so much assumption about what the his old colleagues, I guess. I don't know if we're gonna call them friends, but we're gonna do and didn't. Um, it was very interesting to see that.
Mm. I think he may forget that he's been, well, conscious, dead a long time, and that people can change and grow and, and things happen in life. And so I
Yeah.
think that maybe he underestimates, all that's happened to them, not just what happened to him.
Mm.
His wanting to beg forgiveness of Miriam and Dracon confuses me a little bit. Like I'm feeling like Jurian is on our side, but that still just is a little. I want to know a little bit more there. He says that, he was never thrown into madness over them. It was all part of the war from before, and this is
Mm.
the part that I have to play. Um, Ultimately, I'm just like, what what is all of this getting you, Jurian?
Mm.
Everything that you're doing, all of the parts that you're playing, the chess moves that you're making, what are you getting out of it ultimately?
Yeah. I, I mean, he's very good at playing the game, that's for sure. I did appreciate the apology for shooting Azriel with the
Yeah,
arrow.
that was necessary. I think that was good.
You know, I liked the thank you. So I get thank you acknowledgement, I guess, of for Feyre's like, good on you for slaughtering Brennan Dagden, and him saying like that's when I chose to trust you. Because if
Mm,
you remember when we were reading those scenes of Feyre back in the spring court, it Jurian was always a little sus on her, and he's like, "Are we sure Tamlin or not Tamlin? Dang it! Are you sure Rhysand didn't just unleash you upon us?" Like he knows some things, and we kind of could feel that in the beginning of the book, and now we know, like, yeah, he did know something was wrong, and that's when he's like, "I trust her. I see which side she's on." You
for
know,
sure.
but all the real confirmation I needed was when he chose to help Feyre when she entered Hybern. That was like, oh, okay, he's a good guy. I get it now. I need no further proof.
Yeah. I'll agree with you there, but I can't get it out of my head. What do you get out of this, Jurian? At the end of the day, what is the goal for you? Is it
Yeah.
just protecting humans? I don't know. I feel you can trust easier than I can, I guess.
Well, speaking of trusting someone, Tamlin. Tamlin has been hard to trust. We've had it, we've lost it, back and forth. We've hated Tamlin going back against the king to help save Feyre and Az and Elain. It's not that it changes my feelings about him per se, but it does make them more complicated because he risked his life. He saved them in so many ways. I mean, I'm thankful for the risk he took. That does make it complicated.
For sure. Yeah, I don't think any of this diminishes what he's done, right? It doesn't
Mm.
change what he said, the actions he's taken. I'm grateful that he was there, and perhaps this is his redemption, right? I don't know that I feel that I need more.
Mm.
I'm grateful that he was there in that moment. I'm hopeful that he continues to make good decisions. Um But yeah, I mean, I think I've said it before. Like, we loved him at one point in time. He does make good decisions occasionally. He doesn't do all bad things. It's just the bad that he does do is pretty bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe this is an opportunity for him to grow as a person. I think I'm good on Tamlin. I don't know that I really need or want anything else. I'm grateful for these moments, and I'm sure that we're going to get more, clearly. And now we realize that he's on the side of Prithian, so he's going to probably continue to be a character that we talk about. But yeah, I mean, it was good. It was nice. I'm just kind of over it. Like I'm kind of done with him and his drama a little bit, and he can just kind of go hang out in spring
Hmm.
and figure out his own shit. I think he needs to do some self-reflection and just really like figure out who he is as a person and what his morals are and what love means, and he's got a lot of growing to do. He's young.
Yeah.
He needs to take some
I
time to
agree.
mature.
I agree. He does need all those things. You know, you say you don't need anything else from him, but I do. I feel like I need like an apology, you know? Like but you know,
I
him
would love
sending
that. I
her,
just don't know if he
yeah,
will.
I don't know. In a
That's
way
the
I
part about it.
true. I I feel like him sending the wind to like help get her to gain height and escape and spread her wings like in a literal and figurative way kind of felt like an apology.
Mm,
I mean, he said so many things to her that were hurtful in that High Lords meeting that to then do this when he could have just let her fall, it kind of felt like an apology in a way, but I don't know. I'm a words person, so I would love to just like hear them. So to avoid ending on Tamlin again today, I've added one last character, a final goodbye, if you will, for us to talk about the Suriel just a little bit.
mm,
Um, Something we haven't said yet was that the Suriel had black blood. It's just something I like to note, kind of like when we note when we have special names for people, special eye colors, special blood colors as well. Suriel has black blood. Thought that was interesting.
yeah, and it tasted like soil
Why does she know what it tastes like? Did
because
it
it
go
was
in
in
her
her
mouth?
mouth.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
because the arrow
forgot.
went through its neck and sprayed into her face.
So gross. Um, I really loved so many of the words that were said, but this was like the most surprising and unexpected friendship of the series.
Mm, I
You
love it.
you know you don't think it's coming, but it's built up over three different books and three different powerful moments that you realize, wow, wait, I really liked you. Don't go. So then it brings me back to there's more than one Suriel. Elain tells us that.
Mm,
There are many, but she finds this one. Maybe we will have another Suriel. I don't know. I would like that. I don't. Perhaps it's going to be, you know, maybe meeting a new Suriel will give us better answers about the lore of this one, because apparently it had a name, which we never got.
we didn't, and we have decided that no names are important, it seems. So
Meow.
perhaps that was
Meow.
something important.
I suppose. Is there anything that didn't click for you in these chapters?
There's always things that don't click for me. um, the Suriel sensing Elain, I thought was interesting. And then, we don't know who or what the Suriel was or is. And I was like, perhaps a seer in another life as well, sort of a
Mm.
kindred spirit to Elain and her gifts. Um, Illyrian siphon colors, do those represent something? We've got red, we've got blue, we've got green. What
I don't think we
exactly
know.
are these siphon
Yeah.
stones? Um,
I understand what the siphons are and their function, but I don't know about the color. That would be interesting.
Yeah,
Like why?
function, yes, but like, what is it? You know, we've learned of Feybane, and we've learned of like the blue stone from Hybern that nullifies power. Like, what exactly are the siphon stones? And I feel like the fact that they're not all the same color is probably doesn't mean anything, but I don't know. I was curious about it. Feybane not being used in the initial battle was kind of interesting to me. I was curious
Mm,
why that wasn't used. Um, and then too, like in the Hybern camp, they use ash arrows instead of Feybane. Where if they had
mm-hmm.
shot her with a Feybane arrow, then she wouldn't have been able to use her powers. So it's like, why are we
Mm.
selective with our Feybane? Do we not have a lot of it? Yeah. Are there multiple Suriel? Not just one? Like, and maybe this is my pea brain because I also was like, oh, there's just one adder, but then we learned that there are more adder creatures. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that Feyre continued to capture the same
Wow.
Suriel, I thought was curious because then that just kind of made me assume that it was like a one of a kind, like the
Mm-hmm.
weaver or the bone carver or whatever,
Same,
not
same. I thought the same.
that there are multiple of them. Because I was like, then how are we finding the same one? But okay. Yeah, what was the Suriel's name? We almost got it, and then we didn't. Shocker. Uh Varian and Amryn, could they be mated? And the reason I ask
Mm.
this is this quote, as if he'd sensed she was here or someone had reported. Varian dropped to his knees before her chair, but just that idea of like he just knew exactly where she was. And yes, of course, somebody could have told him, but he walks right in, beelines toward her. So it just kind of gave me that vibe. And then I was like, could Amryn have a mate? She is
Mm.
a maid fae. Feyre
Why
is a
not?
maid fae and has a mate. So who's to say she can't? And perhaps it's
Yeah.
Varian. And then I asked, where the hell are Miriam, and Dracon? Where the fuck are they? We keep asking. We keep saying we should find them. We need them for the war. Where are
And
they?
yet,
Where
and
did they
yet.
go?
Oh man. Well, that brings us to our heroine's journey. Now, for our heroine's journey today, I'm calling back to this epic cinematic moment for Feyre. Against all odds, with her power low, never having flown for long, let alone carrying someone, she flies. She does it. And as if the moment we had been unknowingly prepared for her entire life. A strength greater than she honestly should possess rises up within her. And then we're reminded of that Nephel theory that Azriel shared, that the most unlikely among us become the heroes when the moment demands it. And so much of Feyre's strength comes from like her own inner convictions, but she is also lifted up by the people around her. She's encouraged by Azriel, cheering for her, her friend and mentor, and supported quite literally by Tamlin, whose defending power helps her stay in the air. I think what makes that moment even more powerful is the complicated truth behind it. Tamlin is someone who has deeply wronged Feyre in the past, someone whose actions have caused her pain and loss, and yet in this critical moment, he becomes part of the reason that she survives. It's a reminder for us that people and our histories with them are very rarely simple. Sometimes those who have hurt us still have the capacity to do good. And sometimes healing means recognizing that complexity without necessarily forgetting the past wrongs. Here in our real world, we encounter those same types of tensions with that growth that asks us to hold space for the idea that people are capable of both harm and redemption. We're human. And the paths that we lead forward sometimes include unexpected help from places we never thought we would be willing to accept it. And Feyre's flight shows us that heroism isn't just about having individual strength. It's about resilience, forgiveness if possible, and the ability to move forward even when your story is more complicated than you may have once believed.
Today, I'm going to look to the relationship between Feyre and the Suriel. Shocker there. An unlikely pair who, in many ways, we learn shared the same vision of the world. One, because sometimes the truth and the help we need, or even moments of kindness, can come from the most unexpected of places. Not just the Suriel, Tamlin as well, Nesta giving us the hug that we so deeply needed for Feyre. And two, the Suriel reminds Feyre of something powerful. Only you can decide what breaks you, Cursebreaker. Only you. Whether it's looking into the Ouroboros, stepping onto a battlefield, or simply carrying the weight of the world, your world, you decide what shapes you. You decide what lingers, and ultimately you decide what breaks you or what shapes you into the next best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you want to keep going. I know you want to turn the page, but we've got to close the book on this one.
But hey, every epic needs a cliffhanger, right? So let's savor the suspense.
Remember to like, share, subscribe, and review. And before you remove your bookmark to prepare for next week, we are going to be finishing the book, chapters 66 through the end. Remember, whether you are conquering your own kingdom or just cozying up with a good book, you are the main character of your own epic tale.
Okay, queens, for real now. Put the book down, hold your crown high, and of course, we will catch you on the next page.